You've been training super hard lately and you're excited about your games. Yes, today's going to be the game where I impress everyone. But this game turns out to be another poor one. You were once improving rapidly, but now it's stopped. There's a rock in the way. The lack of improvement continues, but you just don't get it. You've been told on social media that all you need to do is work super hard and you'll get the result. But it never comes. Why can't I improve, man? I thought all I needed to do was work hard. If you've ever felt like this, I understand. Most have been through it. Today, I'm going to be teaching you how to get out on the other side and break through this barrier and reach your football potential. Grab a pen and paper, because what I'm about to tell you might just save your football career. Point 1, you're not being challenged enough. I know the feeling, being the best player in the team and everything comes easy. Everyone in the team loves you and it's just an enjoyable environment. But let me tell you that this is not how you go pro. The reason being is you don't even need to concentrate that hard. You don't even need to try that hard. Everything's just too easy to you. And when it becomes too easy, you don't need to try. And when you don't try, you fall to the levels of those around you. On the flip side, we have rising to the level of our teammates and our opponents. We've all had that one game where we played against the top of the league or a few leagues above, basically a better team than us. And what happened on that day? You played out of your mind. You played one of your best games you've ever played. And why? Because if you didn't, you'd look out of place. So you went into every single tackle. You made them extra sprints. You made the extra run. You did everything you possibly could to play well. And if you didn't, you would have looked out of place and you would have been embarrassed. This is the opposite to what you're probably feeling right now, feeling comfortable in a team where you know you're the best. Every game that you play, you should be going to war. You should have that nervous excitement before the game. Because if you don't, and this is the correct state to be in, if you don't get that nervous excitement and you're not psyched up to play, you should get absolutely dominated and obliterated. And if you have those games where you can't really be bothered and you're still playing well, then you're not playing at the right level. You need to try to play higher, because this nervous excitement, this is how you improve. Because like I said, you make all those extra runs, you make all those extra tackles. And this doesn't just apply to you. This applies to me and every single other footballer. It's the same for all of us. For example, over pre-season, I played a team that was 2 leagues above us, and they're a full-time team. So if you like, professional. And I had to rise to the levels of those opponents, because those players that I played against, they were better than me. They trained more than me, they played more than me, and they were in a higher team than me. But what did I do? I rose to the level. I made sure I was fully concentrating, and I played one of my best games I've ever played. Again, another example, played in the FA Cup in September against a team. There were like 500 people watching, and whenever there's people watching, you get a buzz. This team were a good team as well, and what did I do? I locked up the right winger and the striker. I went on loads of dribbles. I made a goal line clearance, and I got man of the match that time. And it's no surprise that this team was a very good team, and we got taken all the way to extra time and won on penalties, because it was a fierce competition. The teams were neck and neck. If the right winger was really, really bad and the other team were really bad and we dominated, I wouldn't have played that well, because I wouldn't have been concentrating as much and putting in as full effort. And some people will claim this is a mentality issue, but it applies to everyone. Even when you look at relegation Premier League teams, they'll nick a point, or they'll nick a win against top of the league or teams in the top 4, because it applies to everyone. When you play good teams all the time, you constantly have to rise to the level, and this is how you improve. So all of these factors, having to concentrate more, having to run more, having to go a bit harder into a tackle, this is how you improve. And the reason being is because when you push yourself to the limits, your limits actually so obviously not in the game, so you push yourself all the way to the limits, then your limit gets a bit higher for the next game, then the next game, then the next game, and you keep pushing up, and your potential keeps rising, and you keep getting closer to it each time. It's a very simple concept to understand. So my advice to you here is, this isn't going to apply to everyone, but if you're in a team where everything's a bit too easy, there's no competition, you need to leave that team and play in a team where there's either competition for your spot or the league's very difficult and you need to be psyched up for every single game. Because I tell you, if you're psyched up for every single game, you will play better and you will improve. Simple. And just as a quick point, for those of you who are scared to leave your team, it feels comfortable, you're scared to do this bold move, it's coming from me, someone who was in a similar position where I didn't want to leave my team because it was my home team, I felt comfortable there. As soon as I left, I tested myself, I instantly improved. So please test yourselves, back your ability, and the worst comes to worst, you can always go back down to that team if you're not comfortable at a higher level. Point 2 is one that actually used to apply to me, and it's about overthinking. And I fully get it. You're in this mentality where you're training more than everyone else, you're working harder than everyone else, so you expect better results. And as a result of this, you're kind of the try hard, where no one else is even trying that much, and you're trying super hard, but the results don't come. And I was in this position for a long while, and it's a really bad feeling. It's almost an ego destroyer, to be honest, because we all know that one kid who tries super hard in something and they're still at the same level of it as everyone else. And pretty much the advice that I got to get me out of this rut, and this advice actually allowed me to progress up to a new league in just a few weeks, and it was simply stop trying so hard. And you might be thinking, what on earth do I mean stop trying so hard? So let me just tell you, I didn't understand this advice either, but I listened to it and I just thought, okay, I'm just gonna stop trying so hard. Let's just see what happens. What happened? I stopped trying to rinse players 24/7. I stopped trying super hard going into everything. And this kind of like doesn't make sense. I know a lot of people are gonna be thinking, what? I'm gonna stop trying so hard. But what it actually means is just stop overthinking everything. Stop trying to be the hero player. Stop trying to prove yourself, because that is really what you're trying to do. And I get it completely. This was so me back in the day. But when you're trying so hard compared to everyone else, what you're actually doing is you're trying to be the hero. You're thinking about the external factors. You're thinking about what other people think of you, and you're trying to prove that you're better than everyone. But trust me, the best mentality shift is to stop overthinking all of this stuff. And now I'm not saying stop trying. In a way I am, but I'm saying it's really about the mind. So in this regard, it doesn't mean stop training, still keep training, keep working hard, but stop thinking about it. Because when you think about it, you put all of that pressure on yourself, like, I've trained way more than these guys, so I need to perform better than them. When you think like that, you're never ever going to get the result, because you make terrible decisions because you're trying to be the hero player and you're trying to prove that you're better than everyone. So the best mentality shift is just think, stop trying. And then what will happen is things will become a lot easier, and your talent and your ability will show. All of the hard work will show, but just stop trying to prove it to everyone. So as an example of this is one that applied to myself. Stop trying to take 100 players on. That's what I literally stopped doing. And as soon as I stopped doing that, I would still take players on, don't get me wrong. But there would be a few points in the game where I would just be like, I'm just gonna pass it. I'm gonna play simple here. And what that allowed me to do was become a more disciplined player. And it allowed me to basically progress and become a more mature player. And this allowed me to stand out and look like a better player in all regards. So for this piece of advice, just stop trying so hard. And I don't mean stop doing the extra sprints and stuff, but I just mean take the game, you know, just relax and trust yourself. Take the game for what it is, try to have fun, and all of the hard work off the pitch will show. But the best part about this advice, and the best thing that you need to stop doing, is stop thinking, I need to prove myself. Because trust me, if you have this mentality of, I need to prove myself, you won't prove yourself. But if you have the mentality of, I'm gonna work hard and we're gonna see what happens. I'm gonna try really hard, but I'm just gonna see what happens and I'm gonna play my game. Trust me, when you think like that, you'll play so much better. And the other part of this is the off the pitch stuff. This is obviously what I just talked about was on the pitch, but the off the pitch stuff is stop deeping football. I promise you, stop deeping football. I used to think about it all the time. I used to be like, man, I need to go pro. Man, I need to go pro. I used to have this thought all the time, and I used to see everyone around me, some players in academies and all this, and I used to think, how am I gonna make it, man? Trust me, all of these thoughts, they don't actually help you improve. I mean, this is obvious. If you're overthinking all the time, obviously you're not going to improve, but it's literally simple, right? Hear me out, look at me when I say this, and just listen to my advice. Stop deeping it. Just honestly, stop deeping football. Still continue working hard, but stop placing so much importance. It doesn't dictate your entire life, and while in some regards it might, just trust me, if you have this mentality and you adopt this mentality of, I'm gonna see what happens, I'm gonna work super hard, and then I'm just gonna enjoy playing, you will play so much better. So stop thinking about football on the pitch, stop thinking about off the pitch, enjoy the game, play your game, have fun, and all of that hard work that you've put off the pitch, it will show off. And point 3 is one that contrasts completely my second point, but this will apply to some of you, and that is that you're simply not working hard enough. You've clicked on this video because you want me to tell you exactly how to break past the threshold and constantly improve. But the truth is, for most of you, you're not working hard enough. You're not going to get instant results. You're not going to do 1 session, 2 session, suddenly going to turn into prime Ronaldo. That's not how this game works. You have to do so much work for you to become a professional footballer. And the key bit of advice here is that you have to be a professional footballer before you can be a professional footballer. What do I mean by that? I mean, you have to act like one, you have to think like one, you have to behave like one before you actually get that professional contract. And as a quick analogy here, this is one that I find footballers really helps you guys to actually understand this one, because you put in so much work, or you put in a bit of work and you don't see the result, and you think the training isn't working. That's not how it works at all. And I'm going to be talking to you about ice cubes. You might think, what on earth am I talking about? But let me explain. Ice cubes start melting at 0 degrees. So they turn into a liquid, they go from solid to a liquid at 0 degrees. And for those Americans, I think it's 32 Fahrenheit. But from -10 to -1, what's happening? I mean, if you just looked at it from an outside perspective, you wouldn't see the ice cube melting. So you'd think nothing's happening, right? But what is actually happening is the particles are slowly moving about. They're getting weaker, they're moving about a little bit, so it can start transforming into a liquid. But if you were just looking at it, you would look at the ice cube and you'd see nothing's happening, right? And this is the exact same as your football career. It's the exact same. You do all of this training, you do a bit of training here, a bit of training there, a bit of training there. And in your mind, you think, man, this training isn't working, I'm not improving. But it's exactly the same as the ice cube. You're basically reaching the melting point, and that's where everyone can see it. So for you, the analogy is you have to work so hard when no one sees the results, maybe not even you, but you are constantly improving, don't get me wrong. But then what happens is that melting point is the equivalent to you getting signed to an academy or you signing a professional contract. And then everyone goes, how did he do that? That's come out of nowhere. How has he done that? And simply, but you know the truth, right? You've had to put in X amount of work. You've had to put in so much work to get to that point, but no one sees the result. And this is what I want you to understand. And it's that you might not be working hard enough. You have to put in so much work and not see any results for you to actually get the result. So this isn't some free motivation or anything. This is genuinely the truth. If you want to be a professional footballer, you have to work so hard, and then you'll get the result. So don't get demotivated if you've done 3 extra training sessions in the week and then on the Saturday or Sunday you still don't have the best game ever. Because trust me, after you put in X amount of work, like serious amount of work for a long period of time, the result will 100% come, guaranteed. So for this, what I want you to understand is that you have to constantly work hard. It's not a 1-week job, a 2-week job. You have to do it for years. So what my advice here would be to you is to create a routine. In this routine, have the days you're training and stick to it, be disciplined, have your recovery stuff, have your diet, and all of this will compound. If you stick to this for a year or 2 years, this routine that you create for yourself will get you to the next level. It's just not going to be a 1-week job and a 2-week job. You have to be dedicated to this, and trust me, if you are dedicated, like I said, the results are guaranteed. Now, I don't know all of you personally, so you're going to have to decide which category you fall into. And in some regard, it might be all 3. But once you've identified this, you know exactly what you need to do. I've told you what you need to do, so if you take action, the results will come. And let me tell you, as someone who's been sitting on the bench at Sunday League, people have been telling me, managers have told me, I'm not even good enough to play for this team, to then making my debut for a professional club just a year and a bit later, and now balling out at semi-pro, please listen to my advice. I want the best for you, so go and make notes on this video, and if there's a particular bit of advice that you like, screen record it so you can watch it later on. Because this stuff, if you actually take this seriously, it will completely change your career, as it has done for me. So that's pretty much the end of the video. My free training will be linked in the description, and see you in the next one.